Hello everyone, welcome to this new episode of the Evil Plotcast, a Disney Villainous podcast where we talk about different topics regarding the board game. And in today's topic, we're gonna talk about our rankings for the most fun villains in the game. So last week we talked about our top most competitive characters, pretty much a tier list, to try to discuss which character is the best one in a competitive setting, a 1v1 competitive setting. However, this time around, we're gonna talk about our favorite characters to play as. Be it because they have great art, maybe they have very interesting mechanics, or maybe we just really like the character, and partially how easy it is to win as them, because that's also an important factor, I feel. Today I'm joined by Alecrat.
Hello.
Baby Daisy Lover.
Hi.
Lady Loki.
Ew.
RJG2.
What's up?
And Wahnderful.
Hello.
We made a survey a bit ago to see what are people's favorite characters to play as in the community. And here we have the results. Well, actually, RGG2 is the one that has the results. And he's gonna be revealing the rankings for every character during this podcast. RJ, could you...
Okay. Cool. All right. So this was a way more popular result than our other survey. We received 46 responses for this. So thank you for everyone who is listening that did respond to the survey. I appreciate your time. So we're going to start at the bottom. You want to hug him when you're falling asleep. You love his scent. But unfortunately, the bigger and badder villain at the bottom, number 21, we have Lotso Huggin' Bear as the least fun villain of all.
Wow.
I wonder why. Wow.
Community.
Yeah, let's see what this was discussed.
I was about to say, we have a Lotso lover in our group.
Yeah,
we do.
Baby
Daisy lover.
Baby Lotso lover.
Why do you love Lotso?
So on my personal ranking, I put him at number 3. Honestly, I could see him moving up even further. I really like Lotso. He's got a lot more going on with the Fate deck and like what he has to do to respond to it than a lot of the. We've got like you have to know what to do to respond to any situation. I find that really fun, just kind of like setting up and getting all of the pieces into place and then getting a big combo off for the last turn to finish off the game. It should just be really fun. So
yeah.
Well, I'm on the almost opposite schedule, so I am in the bottom Lotso tier. He is my number 20. I do not find Lotso fun because I don't feel like I figured it out. And maybe it's because I don't like to play him as much, because they're just every time I feel like I'm in the same loop of cycle. And maybe because I haven't seen him being played as much as I've seen other villains to kind of pick up a hint or a trick there, to see like, oh, that's a really good idea. It's like, oh, don't do that, and I've done that. That's one reason why he's near the bottom. Another reason is it just seems like there's lots of stuff going on both in the Fate deck and in the villain deck that don't fit in my brain. Like, oh, pop, and it just, there's a lot of confusion like with the big baby and like the reshuffling thing. I just don't like that. It's either one way or another. They either every effect or activate ability the cards get reshuffled or they get discarded. Just make up your mind and pick one. But I don't like that. So
yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I respect Baby Daisy Lover's ranking of 3. He down for me. For me, he's the number 20. Just kind of similar reasoning there. I don't think I've discovered the optimal strategy to play Lotso. I think when he first came out and when I first started playing with him, I was optimistic. But I just haven't dedicated enough time to learning the strategy for how to play him optimally. But there's a lot of people who love Lotso in this server from who I've played with when I play with you guys and other people in the Discord here. So it does seem like people like him, but I'm kind of surprised to hear he's at the bottom. But yeah.
Yeah. I actually agree with you, RJ. Yeah, he's in the bottom for me. I think mainly just because it gets to a point where you start playing with him and it's like, oh, this is actually interesting. And then like the later on when you play him, it just gets really boring, really fast, and it's just feels monotonous to me.
Yeah, for me, he's in the lower spectrum of my tier list for fun. Mostly because I've had some awful experiences playing lots. So I like most of his gameplay, and I like that when you win, it's very much because you perform some sort of combo at the Ricotti landfill. For example, playing two cards to get all the heroes to zero strength, maybe vanquishing also, which is uh, it's pretty cool when you manage to win with that. But he's got a couple of things that I really dislike. For example, um, when someone discards stretch, you cannot move heroes out of the what was it called? The Garfield room. Normally, this doesn't matter because that's where you want them heroes. But if Rex is already there at 0, and then someone plays a red card and gets rid of that -1, that's awful because the only way to get Rex out of that location is by activating stretch. And if he's discarded, then the rest of the turns are gonna be just discarding all the cards until you get stretch back. And by that time, most probably the other players are gonna um, fade you again and get the other heroes to a stupid amount of strength. I've had a game where Woody was at 8 strength, which is very hard to. It's very hard to lower the strength of heroes by such a big amount. But yeah, part of that it's. I say beginners really like Lotso, mostly because he's got some pretty good fade locations, where you can either gain lots of power or discard cards. But yeah, for me, it's on the. I say he's the fifth least fun character for me.
Okay.
Before I start Loki, where is Lotso on your ranking? Because you didn't specify.
Oh yeah. He is on my rank, honestly, like he's within, I would say, average, if not lower.
So for me, I'm in the same boat as RJ. I have him at number 20. I just don't have that much experience with Lotso. My main thing with him is his Fate deck. It contains way too many effects. It only has four heroes, and I just wish they gave us more heroes to work with. They could, and I know they have copyright with like Slinky and a couple of the other ones, but they could have had
used Bullseye.
They could have had Bullseye. They could have used the aliens. They could have just given us more to work with.
It would have been cool to see. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They just could have given us more to work with instead of just the same four heroes: Woody, Jesse, Rex, and Ham.
On that note, I think it would also be more interesting to have some items, like some Fate items to attach to heroes potentially.
Because other than those four heroes, it's just effects, and usually those effects really can hurt Lotso a lot. So that's kind of why I'm kind of scared to play as him. Because like I said, I don't have that much experience. But we'll see. I'll try to play him more, but that's my main gripe with Lotso. The Fate deck is it's four heroes and effects. And effects can remove a hero. They can get rid of strength tokens. They can, I don't know. But I have seen some very good players on TTS play Lotso very good. So
Yeah, I also would like to add
that's me.
that one of the things that made me not like Lotso as much is because of the wording of the cards. There are several cards that really are not explained well.
Yes.
For example, factory settings. It is not clear that you can play it, even though
Woody's hat.
Boss Lightyear is already in demo
He's
mode.
number 20.
Or the worst example is Woody's Hat, which is just so complicated to explain to newer players.
Yes, I always thought that was confusing.
It's only complicated with the Rex interactions, though. I mean, like it definitely does have weird interactions with Rex, but for Jesse and Ham, it just does what it says on there.
Yeah, and again, it plays in with the monotonous playthrough
Yeah,
of
for
that
Woody's
character.
Hat,
And
I
it's just
think
like,
the part that most people forget is that if you already had a hero at 0 strength, for example Jesse, and you play Woody's Hat, obviously Woody's Hat did not affect that hero. But if Woody's Hat is removed from the realm, then Jesse will still get +1 strength, which is definitely one of the weirdest interactions.
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I always thought it was like a one-time action once you play the hat, but I didn't know it was like a constant effect on the heroes in the realm, whether it's like removed or taken back or put it back. Like it's always -1, even if Interesting.
All right, next up.
All right, moving up to number 20, representing the green box. No purple or light purple, for whatever color you're going to call it. And she's always trying to break your heart. We have the Queen of Hearts.
No way, she's so low.
Oh.
The Queen of Hearts.
Wow.
Right.
As I gotta hear, why is she low?
So I have Queen of Hearts at number 17. She is fun to play. My main gripe with her being she has terrible board control because she has all these guards that you obviously want to turn to wickets that you don't want to use in vanquish actions. So you have top of their head, which costs 3, and then you have the Tweedles, which also cost 3. Then you have the King, who you kind of want to keep around because they make guards cheaper. So I guess that's my main thing with her. I don't mind playing as her, but she's not usually the first one I choose. But she just has terrible board control, and I was kind of hoping we'll get into this later. But I was kind of hoping she'd be one of the introduction to evil ones to be redone over Hook, just to give her better board control. And it's just it's frustrating.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of funny because I put her at like 15, in my opinion, honestly. I think mainly just because he's a good starter for some people, but it's like once you get past that whole starter phase, then you kind of start realizing, oh, she's actually easy to already play as, or she's already easy to beat, pretty much.
I think I put it at 15 too. I really like Alice in Wonderland as an IP, and I felt like the goal that they went with of her trying to play a game of croquet, like it took me a long time to figure out that's even what it was supposed to be. And I also just kind of felt like she didn't really represent the movie that well in her gameplay. And she's also, as far as I'm aware, the only character who like has a mechanic like her growing and shrinking mechanic that you don't have to actually use to be able to win a game as her, which is an odd design choice. I mean, I'm not really sure how they could have made it work with the croquet based goal, but it's it's still true that you don't have to use it to win. It's beneficial to shrink heroes, but you don't have to ever do it. So it's super weird of a design choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that they did implement that for her, like the whole mechanic behind the growing and shrinking. I think thematically, I disagree a little bit. I think she is wonderful thematically. I love how you just have to play a croquet game, which is what she was always focused on in the movie. I mean, for all of our lists and everybody else on the Discord, which villains you enjoy obviously depends on what you value, right? So some people really like the nostalgia of the movie. Some people just like the gameplay, maybe the more in-depth moves that some characters have, their strategy, money management, as in power. Just depends on what everyone values. But yeah, for the Queen of Hearts, I have her at 12. I when I first played her, I thought she was so fun. The whole luck-based mechanic of take a shot was very fun to me. And I thought it was fun. But as I discovered more villains, some started outranking her, so she dropped down to like 12 for me. I haven't played her up in a while. I haven't played her in a while, like some of you guys have said, but definitely enjoy playing her when I can.
Yeah, she is a lot of fun to play. I think because for me personally, being a fan of not just the movie but also like of the book, it's just kind of like it had me kind of thinking and questioning like, okay, how is this going to relate to not just the movie, but how is this also going to relate to just the aspect of the character herself? Like, how is this like going to tie it in? Because like I would probably say this. I'm a big lore fan of theories about Alice's Adventure Wonderland. A lot of it's come out, and like one of the theories that I've always liked is that this is all in Alice's head. This is all her imagination. She's just been so deluded and all that into believing that oh no, it's all real and stuff like that. But it's just caused her sanity. And I think like the Queen of Hearts in my opinion is like another version of her. Like she's starting to become that version of her.
What about
I want
what
to
about
jump in. Oh, sorry. Just jump in real quick and say that I do think that the concept of like revealing cards to see whether or not you win on an attempt is an interesting concept. I just don't think that the revealing 5 cards and like seeing like the strength and compared to the cost like of the cards and stuff is a very interesting way, and it's really easy for Queen of Hearts to win. I mean, it's possible for her to miss the shot, but in my experience, she usually doesn't.
I mean, I've seen a Queen of Hearts game where she misses 3 shots.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
don't say it's
I've heard of
always a
that.
guaranteed.
What I do appreciate about her is that when you do play the take a shot for the first time and then you miss, like you don't get the number you need, it's more likely that you will get it the next time.
Yeah, Queen of Hearts.
So I think it kind of rewards you for making progress there. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me,
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I've actually played games as the Queen of Hearts, and like there have been moments where I was close to winning because like the other top 5 cards in my fortune deck were, that close. Where like if I had gone my next turn,
yeah,
and
I've
I
played
would
a
have
couple
played
of
take a
games
shot, then it's like,
where
oh,
the other person
easy, I
plays
win right
take
there.
the shot, and they failed it like 3 times in a row. And I once played one game where the other person, in the 5th time, I believe, that they played take a shot, they played it and they had so many wickets because I had moved them all to Alice's location. And after that, he revealed 2 take-a-shots from the deck, and the rest of the cards were also pretty costly. So they failed the shot and immediately quit the game because they were really frustrated with the character, especially because I had covered the whole round and they had missed so many shots, and yeah, they just forfeit. So yeah, I can't really see how um, her lack of board control can really make players really dislike her because there are times where you really can't do that much in a turn because your whole body is covered. And something interesting is that while she has the ability to shrink heroes, I haven't seen so many people use it that much. And also, when someone fights Queen of Hearts, barely any players are gonna be enlarging heroes. Um, Especially because that way the large hero can be vanquished by allies at both locations. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a weird thing
yeah,
from a
especially
gameplay
some
perspective that
beginners think that shrinking a
having an
hero
enlarged hero
gives
makes
them
it
the strength
easier to
or
defeat
enlarging
them.
them makes them stronger,
Yeah, definitely.
and they get very confused about that. And maybe that's also a reason why newer players don't really see the point of shrinking and enlarging.
I wish it did.
RJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I actually am. Queen of Hearts was one of my favorites at the beginning. I always say if I have to play one game after all night of Villainous, one quick game, give me the Queen of Hearts. 10 out of 10, that's what I pick. My Queen of Hearts games are quick. I remember when we were doing the Villain Melee, the match between me and Zachary to figure out the Queen of Hearts rep. I think it took 7 minutes. And because we were blazing with her. I think I love that aspect that you can go so fast with her. Yeah, there's ways to slow her down, but I just feel her tempo is fun.
That's
I like
true.
that. I don't my biggest beef with her is the damn rabbit. The rabbit is on the wrong team.
That
You wanna
freaking
you wanna
rabbit
fight
Yeah.
if you wanna fight me on that, you
totally
go
explained this
ahead.
on the previous
Yeah.
episode.
Okay. The rabbit is on the wrong team.
Yeah, I have heard that.
So
I have heard that
Yeah,
critique before, and I do.
especially from the book's perspective.
Yeah.
if I'm not using the books, I'm not using the other movies. I'm focused on this one movie. That rabbit never helps Alice at all. He's afraid of Alice. He is never working for Alice or helping Alice at all.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
works for the queen. I just it has a beef
Yeah.
with me.
I
I
also.
mean, I also don't like how the whole she can't win idea thing with moving all the
The
car guards to one
Scoffrock.
side, and yeah, that I've seen people get stuck with that, and that's why I was like, you gotta kill those allies and reshuffle the car cards or reshuffle the off with your heads or whatever,
I
so you
do.
can have board control.
Yeah.
And
Another thing I
it's
would.
like how I play Gaston. Sometimes you gotta wait to play the king or wait to play the Tweedles if you're gonna hold on to them for Alice. Like if you're gonna try it that way, you're like, oh, she's gonna come out eventually. Gotta protect the Momrath trigger thing. But I just like how I can play her very quickly and just be like, we're done.
Yeah, I do feel like whenever I see her in a multiplayer game, she is like a threat on the board and is a target for fates. Um, Another thing I do agree with Mim how you were saying like I don't really try to shrink heroes if I don't have to. It's only going to happen if I activate Fury, and that's only if I activate Fury. So I do feel like her conditions are a little bit more difficult to activate as well. And then one last note about her I wanted to say is one small thing I do appreciate about the villainous games and the heroes is the art of the cards. I think the Queen of Heart has some really nice art on her cards, especially with like by order of the Queen, how
Yeah,
she's just yelling,
yeah, I especially
and
like
Yeah.
the art
and
for
Fury and
Alice. I
Judgment.
think
I just
it's
think they're
pretty
really
cute.
good art for her.
Oh yeah, it's
Just a little
so
side
good.
note. Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
Yeah.
nice. It totally speaks to the
So yeah, what is next?
This is what we're focusing on with the going with the classic route.
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
No, RJ, what was your ranking of Green Hearts again?
Number 10, right in the middle.
Okay.
Nice.
All right,
All right.
moving up the
No.
company ladder.
I'm excited
We
to hear who's
have
next.
number 19.
No,
He's bigger.
Syndrome.
He's badder.
Damn it.
It's Syndrome.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's too much
Met-
for Mr. Incredible. It's finally ready.
Meta doesn't
Oh
like
man, Syndrome is
Nope.
my favorite
Syndrome
character in
is
the
number
game.
19.
I really like
that.
how
So Meta
the way
is the
you play
Syndrome
is
fan. So
very similar to the
let's let him
movies.
start.
I especially like how in the end game is literally the final battle of the movie. Like you're trying to defeat the Omnidroid by yourself, and then the Incredibles come and they steal their mode, and the Omnidroid goes after them to kill them, and you gotta make sure to defeat all the heroes in your realm, so you get the credit for defeating the Omnidroid. I think it's very thematic, and I really like it. And I also love how many conditions he has. There are people that I talk to that hate how many conditions he has, and especially because they are triggered very easily. All three of them.
Yes.
No, all four of them. Um, but for me, it's a pro for Syndrome because his gameplay is very focused on play and saving the
Okay.
right conditions on your hand
I thought
and
there was four.
There's 4.
um, playing them whenever you can. And I think it's pretty fun playing with Syndrome. The only part that I don't like about Syndrome is the middle, when you have to play the three major modifications to play the final Omnidroid. And I really hate um, how you gotta be really careful because of both, what is it, monologuing and that Story Wicked, because that Story Wicked is one of the worst cards in the game, and when you're playing with Syndrome, because even discarding one of those major modifications very much means that you lost the game because you gotta reshuffle your deck. Apart from that, I really like Syndrome, and I'm very surprised that he's at the bottom.
Yeah, in terms of fun, I actually enjoy playing Syndrome a lot. He gets on my wife's nerves, who I play most of my Villainous with. She hates playing against Syndrome, which makes me like him. So he's number 5 for me, mostly because I think there was a turn. My whole hand was conditions, and she popped every condition in a turn, and she's like, "Really, really?" I was like, "Well, now I don't have any cards in my hand, so I can't play a card on my next turn." But I just find that fun. Like turn 1 is almost, and if you have a condition besides Bioprobe, you're almost guaranteed it's gonna pop. I mean, they're gonna play a card. They're gonna gain power. They're going to
Discard.
most people discard. I just find it much fun being almost every turn. I'm popping a condition. I'm playing this. And the one time I played someone who was playing Radigan, they played
Yes.
9. They paid 9 power for Robot King. It's like, I love this.
Yeah,
It's fun.
unique.
But I will say this: playing Syndrome in a 3-player game sucks. I banned that in my life because I tried that once. Like, oh, let's see how this goes. Because people wanted to see him being played,
Yeah,
and
endgame
in my
syndrome
friend
can be
group, I
painful
played
when
Villainous the
someone
most, and
else
they're like,
plays
"Oh, play
teamwork
Syndrome."
and
And it was 3 of us. I was
they
like, I'm never
order
gonna win.
the
It's
next
never gonna
fate
happen.
cards
Yeah.
so that there is at
And
least
I was
one
like,
hero in each fate action. And that way it's super hard to get out of that.
yeah. So, but I'm a big fan of the Incredibles. I like all I like all the things that all the tools you can use, and if it doesn't feel like there's much garbage that you're cycling through. Like you can always play something, and then there's stuff like, oh, I don't really need that now, but it could be like a niche card. But I'm a big Incredibles fan, so I like Syndrome. Number 5.
Yeah. I put Syndrome at like, I'd probably have to say like 13, honestly. I like The Incredibles. It's a good movie. It's a good it has a good premise, it has a good storyline, and like the character himself is like, he's not like the stereotypical villain really. It's just that, okay, you make this guy as relatable as you can, and I think the animators kind of just had fun with that, really. They're like, oh, let's just make it a character that is, that's so relatable to a lot of people, or like, let's make a character that is like, that has emotion, or that it has this backstory and stuff like that. And I think that's what I liked about Syndrome, honestly. It's just in my, and in my own like mini animator, body is just saying like, oh, he's such a good character, so he was so well done. But playing him in the game, it's a lot of work. Honestly, it's a lot of work because you have to like go through so many conditions, and you also have to go through so many of the other like items and effects and stuff. But it's just there's so much going on that you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna just go ahead and share my thoughts now. I ranked him right with the community. I put him at number 19. For me, he just is the only character released so far that I just feel like never clicked with me. Like, I don't really understand what you're supposed to do to be successful with him. I feel like he has a lot of harsh fate cards, like monologuing that was totally wicked, and teamwork in particular that I don't really know why they needed to go so hard on them. I mean, I don't know. Like, it just felt like his fate deck was a little overkill, and the also like having to have all the heroes out of your realm as like the little tack on to his objective is really what gets me. I'm never able to get all of them out in time, you know. Um, and then just beyond the upgrading, he doesn't do a whole lot. He just kind of keeps defeating the heroes as they come up, and then yeah, I don't know. I find his conditions to be fine. None of them are really all that strong other than a late game bioprobe. So it's like if I'm triggering them, I don't usually care. He doesn't have a lot of strong cards that he needs to get. He doesn't have a lot of expensive cards. He doesn't. I mean, if he has a hero, it just is another hero he has to get rid of eventually. So, I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter a whole lot if I trigger the conditions. So.
Yeah, for Syndrome, for me, I have him at number 7. He is my favorite from the Bigger and Better expansion. Um, Incredibles is probably my favorite Pixar movie. So that's another reason. Another thing is, it feels like every card you have has some use to it, except maybe the conditions. Some of them you can throw away, like Fire Probe, if it won't get if it won't go off. But he's a lot of fun to play. It took me a few turns or a few playthroughs to make him my favorite from that expansion, but I like him a lot. My only gripe with him is, like RJ said, getting the Omnijoy version 10 with the 3 major modifications can be stressful because you have that was totally wicked that can get rid of him, and he has no way to get cards from his discard pile. So you just have to go through his deck like that just to get him back. Um, think that's my only. Oh, and another thing is, any hero in his realm stops him from winning. So again, in a 3-player game, he can be hell because I think there's more heroes than effects and items in his fate deck. So that'll instantly stop him. And then obviously you don't want to kill Omnidroid version 10 until you can win, because if you kill him before killing all the heroes, then he'll just be blocking actions and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's my only gripe with him. Other than that, I think he's fun. I think he's better than Mim and Lotso.
Ooh.
So that's my thoughts on Syndrome.
Yeah, I have to agree with Baby Daisy Lover, where I have met 19 as well as the community ranked him. I agree with everything everybody else has said. But I think a smart opponent will block the lair, so you can only vanquish every other turn in the late game, and it's incredibly frustrating, as you guys have mentioned. He has to do a lot of card searching for major modifications, which I don't think is fun. And also, I like playing villains who are kind of brain dead. I like just kind of turning my brain off a little bit and just playing villains as I would play them. I'm much more used to other villains than Syndrome. So, with all of his conditions, especially, you need to be so cognizant during the game of what you can play, what can you pop, what are your opponents doing. So, it's a lot of mental gymnastics there. But yeah, another little side note. I really like the card monologuing. I think it's very funny. Just think of Syndrome just talking to himself, and then because you're just wasting time, you have to discard 3 cards from your hand, and especially if one of those or 2 of them have major modifications, it's such a bummer. It's a real setback. But yeah, I pretty much agree with everything everybody has said. Great movie, as everybody said as well. But yeah, definitely not the most enjoyable villain for me. 19.
We're ready to move on to the next one.
Next up.
Oh yeah.
All that out of our system.
RJ?
All right, so number 18, representing the yellow box. This one's sad, but it's my boy. My boy.
No.
Gaston.
Oh, okay. I was hoping it wasn't the other boy.
If it was the other boy, you'd been like.
So the big reason why Gaston is my boy, before we started talking on the stream, I was telling Wahnderful and the gang that I was a high school choir guy. I actually did theater, and my freshman year we did Beauty and the Beast, and I played LeFou. So
nice.
Gaston will always have a big place in my heart. So that's why I say he's my boy.
Oh, that's so cool.
LeFou is one of my top 5 favorite cards in all of Villainous. I call him my LeFoumerang. That is not my original name. Someone else came up with that name.
I've also heard of the anti-belt drone.
So
I call him LeFoumerang.
Yeah, so he has a special place in my heart. He's my number 9.
Wow.
He's not like my top tier, but because there's this it's the same thing like the wolves. I know we're going to talk about it. I think unless you all already talked about like the wolves thing, the flip. I think the wolves and the mob should have been flipped, because it makes more sense as the mob gets bigger. It should be more powerful. So that's the one thing, and the idea of it's not really thematic at all, but I understand what they were going with I gotta think the opposite side of the spectrum, which is why I'm like, people always see like, oh, you're so negative about so many things. Like, no, I'm just trying to see the different side of the picture to say, hey, that voice isn't really spoken. It's like, okay, I don't want a little boy playing this game, feeling like he's forcing this girl that has no interest in him to marry her. So that's like, oh, this obstacle removal thing is not thematic. Half the time I feel like I'm the beast with the cards, I wish there were more Gaston-related obstacle removal cards, and I wish there was a move and item action. I would have changed Belle's house actions there and put it there, because I hate that there's no move and item. I don't like it as a card. Why should I have to pay 1 power for something everyone can do for free? That's my piece on that. Same with the Vanquish.
Sorry, that was just me jumping in there.
Yeah, I got that.
If you're done saying, I can jump in real quick since I'm the other positive Gaston person here. He really is my boy. I ranked him in number 2.
Wow, nice.
I love Gaston a lot. I feel like he has, like, because there's so much push and pull between his deck and the Fate deck, and you're going to be swinging back and forth a lot, that it feels so satisfying to like actually win ism, because you know that you had to fight really hard to actually get all of those obstacles off the board. I will say that, like, as a villain, I actually really don't like Gaston. Like, his role in the movie, I really don't like. And when I heard he was coming into the game, I was really disappointed. And then he's my second favorite in the game. But it's kind of like, spoilers, my number 1 is Mother Gothel. I feel like he kind of plays a lot like Mother Gothel, and like where you're kind of like collecting these points, and like basically like you can kind of think of it that way. I like the abstract of the goal, kind of like RJ was talking about. And I will admit that there's a bit of a dropping on the ball of execution, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as people make it out to be. I find it fun to try and get all of these pieces off and like take in like what I can do to play around certain fates. Kind of going back to why I like Lotso, you play around the fates, just stuff like that. And yeah, just don't play a Gaston mirror match because that is a mess. But,
It sounds like a mess.
Right.
In the Wicked League, the only match I ever played where we hit the timer limit was a Gaston mirror.
Oh crap! Oh,
yeah, I
man,
remember a Wicked
bad.
League match where I was playing an Evil Queen, and I removed 31 obstacles, and I still lost.
Oh Lord!
Oh my gosh! What
Wow.
the hell?
Yeah, that's why Gaston, for a lot of people, they like, oh. So it was just
I understand.
It can be brutal.
I understand not liking him. I just really do like him.
Yeah, and that's fair. Kai share next year. I have so many thoughts on Gaston. I always loved him growing up. I thought he was a really entertaining villain. Definitely don't support his motives and stuff, but very fun just to kind of watch. I sing a lot like him, being a singer myself with that deep voice. But yeah, I really appreciate him. I think execution wise, definitely could have been improved upon. Oh my god, where do I start? So Gaston is no Scar, right? He can't control hyenas. Why is he controlling wolves out here? That's just one thing. I do like the card and concept, but as we touched on, I think it should be the mob, as you guys mentioned.
Yeah, I think the thought behind it might have been like wolves fight together like better in a pack than on their own.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why they made it his main ally. Probably just because one of the big scenes for Belle and Beast is when Belle is getting attacked by wolves. So that's probably the reason why. Kind of the same weird thought process on other allies that don't make sense, like Royal Guards and Royal Riders from Mother Gothel. But yeah.
Yeah, Beast and Belle. I think Beautiful as Me is a wonderful condition. I think but a lot of experienced players, however, are very cognizant of the 4 actions, so they decide not to use all 4 actions, and out of fear. It's a nice little fear game that you can play with your opponent. I think it's very entertaining. So sometimes if I have 2 in my hand, I will discard 1. Hopefully it gives them the lenient, like the thought that, I can make 4 actions now, and then I come in for the tricky, like, haha, no, I still have it.
Yeah.
I think it's very unique how he's one of the few villains who can win outside of his turn. That's a nice mechanic there.
Yeah.
Um,
Him and Syndrome. In
One
all
of my-
honesty,
And
Lotso's not going to. I mean, it's possible. It's just not going to happen.
Sure. I think one of my main complaints with him as well is just like his real severe power deficit. He's one of two villains in the game who can't gain free power. Have a free power space. Yeah. What were you
He
saying?
can play Swoon.
Can he, though?
It's not a good
He can play
idea,
Can he,
Swoon.
though?
but you can.
Can he, though? Can he,
Yeah,
though?
I mean he only nets 2, but he
gets
loses progress, and it doesn't seem fun to
I never
me.
play Swoon.
There's just a lot of cards that are discard fodder. We haven't even touched on 5 dozen eggs yet, but
Oh man.
yeah, like 4 power to just put 2 power on an ally just seems ridiculous. But I really
It'd be
appreciate some
really
of the
strong if
cards.
it was Luminous.
I really enjoy the art on his cards. The obstacles, I think it's okay. I wish it was a little bit easier just to get rid of them, maybe, or maybe the Fate deck was a little bit lighter. But I appreciate the art on the cards. I love Gaston as a villain, so he's actually number 9 for me. I don't like how he had to play cards just to perform basic actions that other villains have used. I know you guys have touched on that a little bit. Show Me the Beast needs a rework just with how that's working. I like how I mean, it's necessary to keep these effect cards that remove obstacles throughout the game. If you discard them, you're really in trouble, I think. And I think it's easy to get swamped with heroes. Just if you play the beast repeatedly, moving allies, that kind of thing. But no, overall, I think he's kind of fun. It's very satisfying to win as Gaston compared to other villains for me. But don't want to ramble, but I really enjoy Gaston as well. But definitely have some design complaints.
I think for me, Gaston, he's like in. I would probably say he's like around an 11, honestly, because literally his character design is a total Giga Chad. Like I'm just gonna throw it out there. If everybody can crucify me on that, he's a total Giga Chad. But yeah, like game wise, he has some pretty, he has some pretty complex allies and effects and all that. But like, he also has some fun moments in playing, pretty much. That's just all that I can say about it.
So I have Gaston number 19. And I know Baby Daisy and RJ won't like this. So growing up, my 2 favorite Disney movies were Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. And I think Gaston is a great villain, mostly because I think he is hilarious. And I think the live action Gaston, he was perfect. Like I think he's a great villain.
Yeah, give it up to our boy Luke Evans for playing that live action Gaston. That was amazing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the likes. LeFou was a great card. I usually just keep him in my hand, because of Bell shenanigans. But I have more dislikes than likes about Gaston. First of all, it's not thematic. I get why Ravensburger went that route, so it's not like too creepy. But it's just okay. You're removing obstacles. But another thing is he has no 3 power spot, which sucks.
Yep.
He doesn't have a move. He doesn't have a move, item, ally action. He has a lot of useless cards, like what Wahnderful said about 5 dozen eggs, and I won't go. I'm not even going to go into Show Me the Beast.
Yeah, Show Me the Beast. Yeah. Time to follow me. Just to only move an ally or an item. Just one space.
One of these days, I'm going to be Gaston, and I'm going to play Show Me the Beast so I can replace an obstacle. I'll spend 2 power to replay an obstacle because that's just how stupid that card is. Lark said this in the server, but it's a conditional temper, which I get.
I think it's fine for that. I'm not sure why they added the other 2 options on there, but as a conditional temper, I think it's fine.
I think there's a huge opportunity lost to really. I know a lot of the effect cards highlight the beast's like negative sides, like his temper and these things. But I wish they emphasized like some of the effect cards like bolstered Gaston, like biceps to spare, or and they could have really had fun with that, and also try to swoon Belle. So I think it could have made showing Gaston as a positive guy rather than just showing all Beast's flaws. Had a mix of that. I think that would have been nice thematically. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I wish
I think
Large as a
so.
Barge was a card.
Yes, absolutely.
Size of a barge was a cut card. Did you know that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did
I heard
know
about
that
that.
Large as a
Oh
Barge
my
was a cut
gosh,
card.
yes.
But
We
I
have
didn't know what it
card art for it
did.
as an icon or as an emote in the Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But one of the likes that I do like about him is he does have a couple ways to get rid of obstacles. It's not just playing these effects. It's getting rid of the Beast or Maurice. It's activating Monster Dark. There are multiple ways for him to get rid of obstacles, and I do like that. But I just my main thing with him is just it's not thematic. And again, I understand why, but because I grew up with Beauty and the Beast, and yeah.
I really appreciate how you can play Take Me Instead and play a hero on yourself
Mhm.
to remove an obstacle, but then you can also use that hero's effects to your benefit.
Yeah.
So I guess for example, Mrs. Potts and Chip, you can move all heroes to maybe where your allies are, so it's easier to vanquish them.
Oh,
Yeah.
not to
I
mention
remember. Oh, go ahead.
not to mention he could be Power Star because he had no 3 power spot.
Yeah.
It's
See,
just
I do find power
it's one
difficulty.
it's 1 2 2 1. It's like Venom in Marvel. There's no 3
Yeah.
power spot, and that really takes a toll on what he can do, what he can do. So most of the time it's going back and forth between the woods and the tavern. Sometimes you go to Belle's house. Oh, and another gripe in mind. He has 2 vanquish actions, but he mostly relies on his effects. So why does he have 2 vanquish actions?
Yeah.
Don't
I
forget
think
Yeah,
the
I was gonna
effect.
say he has
Don't forget the effect that
vanquish
gives you a
for the
vanquish
effects.
action.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's not forget. Belle is mine. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking
that's
about
That was
other useless cards he has, I say that is number one. I think I
that is
played eggs more
3
than
vanquish
Bella's
actions.
mine.
I think
Yeah.
intimidating is actually the most useless one
Oh, because you lose so
Yeah.
much.
because you lose so
you
much
could
by playing it.
you could also you could skip over one of your critical effect cards like Get
Yeah,
Out, and it's just
and
huge
you
to
have no
miss.
way to get them back if you do that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
his deck cycling is weak. I had a really entertaining game recently as Gaston, and I had one to obstacle left, and I played what was it called? Take Me Instead, and so I had a
Mhm.
50-50 chance. It was either Cogsworth or Bell, and unfortunately Bell came up, so I couldn't lose my last obstacle. But there's a really interesting interaction there. I do like the fluidity. To say something positive about Gaston, I like the fluidity of always losing your obstacles, getting them back. So it's a big toss up. I like how it never feels like you're losing your progress completely.
Giant game of tug of war.
Yep.
All right. Next up.
All right. So next up, number 18. No, that was 18. Number 17 is my boo. She's getting the rework for all of our hairdos. Number 17, representing the new ITE box, Ursula.
Yes, queen.
Ursula. So
Yeah,
who's got love for the Sea Witch?
Well,
I like
I
Ursula.
do. I definitely do.
Loki and MetaCross because I know he was part of the villain melee, but Loki can go.
Yeah. So she is number 3 for me. This is why. The Little Mermaid is my sister's favorite Disney movie, and me and her, whenever we kind of like act out the movie, she would have me do Ursula and stuff like that, and it was just a lot of fun to do because we get to do the whole contrast thing. Play wise, I love playing as Ursula. Again, number 3 for me, mainly because I talked about this in the previous episode. She is so much fun to, plan out what the next move would be, and she's fun to plan out. Like, how am I gonna get these specific items to my lair, and then now that I have them on my lair, I gotta lock them in, and then I'm good to go. And then it comes to the whole vanquishing my enemies. I can like stack them up, and like whoever is like the top of like the stack of like my heroes in the fate deck, I can move them to that specific location if need be, and then I can just like immediately remove them one at a time. And her allies, Flotsam and Jetsam, it really helps out with knowing where to stack my heroes along with the contracts, and moving them to that specific area. And her conditions as well are so good. Like trickery, for example, like that plays very well in my favor, where I have to now go back and like pick up this card that I had to discard, but it's actually the one that I needed, and I can just play that and do whatever.
I think you're thinking of opportunist, not trickery.
Or no, she's thinking of
That's
Opportunist is the one that gets from discard. Trickery is the condition.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yes, but still, like, she's a lot of fun to play with.
Oh yeah.
I like Ursula. On like a little personal side thing, there's a lot I've done with Ursula and Villainous. I make a lot of customs. I've made some like me like doing my own takes on the official characters, and Ursula was the first one that I did for that. For if you know Ursula, probably obvious reasons. And there's a reason why they're making Introduction to Evil. Let's just say.
Really?
And I also managed to get to write an essay about Ursula in Disney Villainous specifically, like for a college essay. Got a 99% on it. But
Nice.
yeah,
Awesome.
I ranked Ursula at number 8. I think that she's kind of, a mess from a design standpoint, and I will be the first to admit it. I was before they even announced Introduction to Evil, I had already made my own redesign of her for a reason. But I like the basis of it. Like, I see the idea. I like it. Even if it doesn't work super well. I'm a big fan of the unique Vanquish type of characters. I like the idea of the contracts, even if you're not really encouraged to use them, as the worst takes it all version of her stands. Yeah, it's just like they're like, oh yeah, I also like, that's what I was trying to think of. I like the idea of the moving lock token. I don't think it's executed very well, but I really like the idea. So that's what I've got to say about Ursula.
Yeah. I also am a fan of her. I have her at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have her at 7. I find the Vanquish method of the binding contracts very entertaining. Although I only use it pretty much once, but there's a very strict way of how I play her. I do wish she was designed a little bit better. I never use change form. I always keep the lock token in the palace. I always stack villains at Eric's ship. If Baron's going to be watching this, he'll probably agree with me, or just because we talk about Ursula a lot. But even just fading and discarding for a turn while covering Eric's ship is still a good turn.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fishing for cards. I think the ability just to stack heroes for her is really good with Whirlpool. There's a lot of stuff I don't play, like Cauldron, Change the Form. I might play one of the eels if I get it, but I always try to save that green contract. Yeah. But I do think the art on her cards are very visually appealing. I love her locations. I love the movie. Just like a lot of you guys, definitely a personal connection, loving the movie. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. Her conditions are fun. Her ability to fate is good. I think the ability to use change form to guarantee your win and lock your items in Ursula's lair is pretty unique.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is frustrating to with all the change to forms. I'm sorry, return to forms coming up could be difficult to deal with, but I just think she's fun, and if I see my opponent picking like maybe a villain who's not as good, I'll just go for Ursula.
Wow.
But yeah, I think she's a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So Ursula for me is number 21. Dead last.
Oh yeah,
Dead,
I get to hear this.
dead last.
Our first
yes,
one that we've
cool.
had someone has say dead last on, I think.
Oh my god.
So here's why. The last time I played with her, it just reminded me how boring she is. She has all these cards that are reactionary. You have Poor Fortune Souls, you have Whirlpool, you have in her fate deck, you have what's another one? I can't think of it. But
Is it Snarfblat?
Dinglehopper?
Snarfblat,
Snarfblat,
Dinglehopper, or
Snarfblat, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cards that depend if she has heroes, and if she doesn't have any heroes, you can't play them. So what do? You discard them. What are some cards that she can play without heroes? Okay, you have the eels. You have the cauldron, which is useless because there's no point in killing any hero unless it's Triton or Ariel.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I just find her to be very boring. She's reactionary. That's her main problem for me. Grimsby can be clutch if you're locking the layer and she has to play a change form. The only other hero that has a decent ability is Flounder, and it's only a one-time use. And
What about
so
Ariel?
who?
Ariel?
Eric? Or Eric? Oh.
Sebastian.
I already said Ariel as a hero that she would obviously need to kill.
Okay, I just missed that then. Sorry.
I think Scuttle and Eric are very worthless, niche.
I'll say that there was one time I was playing against Ursula, and I managed to use Eric to fate lock and win me the game because I'm just gonna tell this real quick. It was like a palace was unlocked because of Grimsby, and I was setting myself at WinCon. I don't remember who I was playing, probably Mother Gothel, and I fated pulled Eric and then played Eric at the palace, and then moved the hero from the shore over to the palace. The opponent was at Eric's ship, and they weren't able to fate me to stop me from winning.
Yeah, but also her fate deck isn't that great. In addition to the reactionary heroes, you have 3 return to forms, which only play the heroes to her location. So if you're at the lair and you have an Ariel is in the discard pile and you play the last item you need, you have the crown or trident, and you give return to form, that puts Ariel at the lair, and that doesn't really stop her win.
That doesn't
stop her win condition, and then the palace is useless because it doesn't have a player card. The only use that the palace has it's a good card for Grow Giant.
Yeah.
If you want to gain the power, if you want to move a hero over, if you want to move an item over.
Yeah, I view the palace. I view the palace as a menu for Grow Giant for sure. I also want to talk about having Ariel be played to the layer saved my ass from losing a game. So I totally get that with return to form and how frustrating that is.
Yeah.
But
I always forget that it has that ability too. It's a super weird one. I don't really know why it's there, but it's there.
So I have her at 21 because I think she's very boring to play. You can't play every card that she has unless there are heroes on the board. And that's why I put Lotso in front of her, because at least Lotso has cards that you can play at all times. Ursula, you can't. If you can't play it, you might as well discard it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cards that have to deal with heroes and moving heroes, and sometimes you don't have the heroes on the board. So
I Yeah. I do think her Fate deck is quite crippling, depending on the situation. Like, say you have King Triton with a contract on him to send him to your lair, which is what you want to do most of the time. If Sebastian takes that contract, that adds like 4 turns. It sets you back. It sets you back a lot because he'll take that contract and whatnot. But yeah, yikes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that basically puts a dent on that hard work that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Especially if Triton has a Snarfblat and you just wasted that 6 power.
Well, 7. No, never mind. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
6 is the increased price because of Triton.
Yeah. So for me, Ursula's in the middle. She's my number 12. I will say my favorite Ursula moment ever is the 4 fate turn. Yes, it can happen. You can be fated 4 times in a turn. It's double Grow Giant, and then on your opponent's turn, they immediately have 6 power. So technically, it's 4 fates in a turn because it's one
if
turn
you use
cycle.
Deception.
Oh, I can't
get
wait.
max on you, then you can get an extra one in there.
I can't wait to talk about that.
So I love that since it's Ursula. She's like my sassy girl. Like, and when I'm having a terrible day and I'm playing Villainous, I'm throwing Ursula on the table, and I'm just going to fate the heck out of you. I will say my favorite YouTube video of Ursula. It is Ursula mirror match. It is on Luke Jones Gaming YouTube channel of him versus Ditto, and Ditto halfway through the game just loses it, and he just goes berserk on saying the same phrase over and over. Like he opportunists into a Grow Giant, immediately plays Grow Giant, next turn plays opportunist, gets the Grow Giant back. I think he fates like 10 times in 5 turns. And it was just like, holy crap. Like if you're in that type of mood, like you don't care about your opponent or you don't care what's really going on, you can just go with it. It's just fun, and then we'll just recycle it because there's so many other cards like Alex said that you're not gonna play. I think arrogance is one of the worst conditions in the game.
I would probably agree. Yeah.
I mean, especially with how RA has made conditions towards more 3 strength heroes.
That was
This one has
Prospero Hall
4.
did it too.
I hope that in the new box that they changed arrogance to 3 strength.
I hope it just has a different ability entirely.
If it has a different ability, I'll be up for that. But if they don't change the ability, make it 3 strength.
It'd be pretty cool to see it. It'd be pretty cool to see it like pull any card from this card. Kind of like.
So that's what Opportunist does.
Yeah, but maybe like a free one. I don't know. Just throwing ideas out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
She's my number 12. She's right where she should be.
Arrogance is disappointing because
arrogance could be nice.
I don't know. It's disappointing in my opinion, just because it's got one of the hardest triggers with defeat a 4 strength hero. 3 strength is already hard enough, and then 4 puts it up. But I mean, it is the first box, and all of the defeat hero conditions in that box were 4. But it also has like one of the most mediocre abilities on like that you get for triggering it too. I don't really know what the idea was there.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of the heroes in the first box they're strong. You have Genie, you have Merryweather, you have all those heroes from Maleficent. It could be easy to trigger arrogance from those heroes. It can be nice. It can be nice, but like you said, it's not the best.
Who have that same type of trigger, their incentive that they get from it triggering is way better. Like for Maleficent, Malice is so much helpful, such more helpful than arrogance. For Hook, Obsession is way more helpful than arrogance.
Yes.
Well, Mal has Tyranny, which is 3 allies, and it's the same ability as arrogance.
The 3 allies is a lot easier to have happen though, because the allies have to just sit on the board. You know, your opponent doesn't have to do anything to trigger it.
It's a static condition,
especially against people like
Pete,
Queen of Hearts, Pete, Scar. Scar has a lot of allies.
PJ.
PJ can have a lot of allies too.
Yeah.
All right. Next up.
All right, next up is number 16. Everyone's
I really don't
favorite
like
villain to talk
Meme,
about.
mostly
She
because
is the
it feels
last
unfair
rep of the
against the
bigger
other
and
person
badder box.
because I
Yes,
can
the bigger
pay
and badder box
so much and
box
the
is the
objective
worst
is so
by the media. This
simple.
is Madam Mim.
And pretty much all you're
Yeah.
doing with Madame Mim is just playing
We
any
need to
transformation
talk
you get
about
Mim.
this
and
one.
defeating any
She sure
transformation
is
that
a
comes
character
to
in the
you.
game.
I think we start with MetaCross.
And it's not a very interesting gameplay loop.
Yes, since
The condition, as big as a house, is pretty nice. I like it. But still, I just find her boring, and yeah, also most of the time I don't like to play her because she's just very good, and it's not as interesting um, playing against her nor with her. So yeah, she's at the bottom for me, at the very bottom of my fun ranking. At the bottom, 21.
Is that
Yeah,
so
I
you're saying
ranked her number 20 for me.
Okay. Yeah,
where
I
does
put her all the way down at the bottom too.
where does Metacross rank her?
21.
21.
So 21, okay. Go ahead, Loki.
Yeah, she's okay in my book. But then again, like, just as Min was saying, like, it gets a bit repetitive of sorts. I think mainly because, like, people automatically know just, like, okay, this is what she has to do. But it's like, okay, and what else is there for this character? And you come to the realization that, oh, there is not a lot that you can work with.
Well, there's nothing she does outside of defeat her heroes' transformations. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just use her transformations to defeat Merlin's transformations. But that's just it. It's like, it's very, very lackluster.
I'll say that Mim was one of the ones I've picked. I haven't finished it, but she's one of the ones I picked for like my own take on like a rework sort of thing. Because I think the concept is there. I just feel like they didn't give her enough time in the oven, basically. Like I feel like could have been very interesting if they had more time to work on her. But they didn't get that time, and so she came out very bare bones. Like out of all the characters in the game, she is the most no frills about it. She just like you see on her board like defeat all Merlin transformations or whatever it's the phrasing is, and that is all that you're going to be doing. You don't do anything else. The rest of her deck that isn't cards that you use to defeat transformations is just basic utility options that get you the power to play those cards or get you those cards back. Like that's all that they do. Or get you those cards sooner, I should say. There's also that, but I mean that's basically the same thing. I mean, the idea of like having all of these different heroes that you can only defeat in certain ways is a cool idea, but the heroes, I'm just going to call them heroes and allies. The heroes just sit there and wait for you to defeat them. Your opponent can't really interact with them at all other than swapping them out, make you have to defeat another one or get the or move them. That's what I was trying to think. It's funny that I forgot the card that makes up half of our fate deck. But they just sit around and wait for you to defeat them, which I feel like is a super weird decision. But I mean, it's not like the allies do anything either. They just sit there and wait for you to use them to defeat their heroes. So I don't know. It's also a weird design choice to give her all of the bottom 3 action locations. It's a super strong thing to do for anybody, and I feel like Mim has no real need for it because the opponent can't play heroes on her anyway. I mean, she's going to have heroes on her board the entire game, but how many is entirely up to her. And she can also use the move hero action they gave her too. Also, even if you're going to give her all bottom row actions, they shouldn't have put both of the fate actions on the bottom row. Like, at the very least, they should have done that. I think that they fixed it for Venom. Like, Venom has the same setup, and it's just as weird there. But at least there, one, you can have heroes actually played on you by the opponent, and two, I think that they did put the fate as the top row on one of them. So.
Oh no, yeah, both fates are on the bottom from what I'm looking at. But
Is for Venom?
Oh, I mean for Mim, my bad.
For Mim, they're on the bottom row for Mim. I don't remember off the top of my head for Venom. I could pull up the picture real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thoughts on Mim. She just needed some more time in the oven, and she's way too strong because of it.
So, I'll go in on Mim. I have her at number 11. So I grew up with Sword of the Stone, and so I'm a little biased with her. I do think she's a lot of fun. There are a lot of cards in her deck that are useless, like
Marvelous Magnificent Mad.
There's that one. There's
Battle of Wits.
Maybe a Sporting Chance.
Sporting Chance can be clutch, but
yeah,
there are some cards that are useless. But I do think she's a lot of fun. I kind of wish that each of the transformations had an ability, but knowing how strong she is, that would probably make her even stronger. So I get why they didn't give them, individual abilities. But I enjoy her for the most part.
I'll say that the only character I dislike is my number 21. I wouldn't say I dislike Mim.
Yeah.
She's just my least favorite out of the ones I don't dislike.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I think she's fun for the most part. I don't pick her that often because of how broken she is, but there's some times that I'll pick her, and
I originally had her.
I think she's fun because no, you're fine. Again, I love Sword in the Stone, and I know she didn't. I like how Ravensburger was able to turn her into her own character, but she didn't have that much time or screen time in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just defeat Merlin in a wizard duel, and you have you have to play this transformation here and that there so that you can kill that Merlin transformation there. It's just she's fun. I think she's a lot of fun. So those are my thoughts. Once again I have her at number 11.
Yeah, I would disagree on the fun. I have her at 18. I've actually never encountered a Sword in the Stone fan, so you can give yourself a gold star for that.
You just did. I love Sword.
So you get a gold star for that. Because I remember when we brought Bigger and Badder to our first board game night, and people looked on the back of the box like, "Oh, Syndrome! Oh, Lotso! Who's Madam Mim?" I had to explain to almost everyone there who Madam Mim was. Like,
I guess everybody has
sounds about right.
She's from Sword of the Stone. Like, they're like, "You mean King Arthur?" Like, yeah. Like the part where Merlin fights the witch. Like, I don't remember that at all. They all remember the fish scene, or when they turn into a squirrel and they kind of have the weird bestiality. But most people don't remember
that.
The Madam Mim scene.
I forget those scenes exist. I only remember the Madam Mim scene.
So I have her at 18 because I will say this. I saw one person play her, and all they played were the transformations, as big as a house, and I'll make the rules, and they won.
Wow.
What's the point of the rest of that deck? If you can just win with those three things.
That's what I was kind of saying.
I would say she's the least chosen villain out of anyone in my villain box ever to be played by anyone I play with. It's just no one. It's because most people pick someone that they from a movie they like, or a character that they like, or someone they have fun with, and no one puts this bill. She's not fun, and I don't really have like the I'm in a bad like the type of scenario where I'm gonna pull up Madam Mim. She doesn't have that for me, so she's at 18 because like that's just where she is. I mean, I can win with her. I know how to. It's really simple. But that's my 2 cents.
All right. I don't think Wahnderful said his 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't have too much to say about this. I think what's really frustrating about Mim is that she's very fate resistant, as we talked about. But also conditions. A lot of conditions don't pop against Madam Mim because transformations are not considered allies.
They
So
are.
if you,
They are.
Oh, they are.
Oh,
They are
they are?
allies.
Oh,
They are
okay.
considered allies.
Gotcha.
A
It says so
lot.
in
I was thinking,
villain.
I might have been thinking about Titans, which
Titans
but
don't
yeah.
allies, yeah.
But yeah, still like she
Yeah,
doesn't
I
have
think
Yeah.
that's
Gate
too
5,
much.
so a lot of the gaining 3 power ones are not activated.
The gain 3
Um,
power ones won't go off. There's 2 heroes that can trigger the defeat hero strength ones.
mhm.
Out of the 7, I think there are, but
Yeah, Goat
I mean, they all
and
can
heroes
trigger
in out of
Bioprobe.
7.
yeah, Goat is the only one that's 4 strength. But
And
yeah,
I think Walrus is 3, and everyone else is 2 or 1.
yep, you got it.
So which means Purple Dragon Mim's the only one that's gonna trigger Cunning for Hook.
And Fury for Queen Hearts.
Yeah,
Fury.
And obviously like Arrogance and Malice.
yeah. But no, a lot of it's a lot of fodder shuffling. There's 4 copies of I'm Not Cheating. It's just criminal, and it's just very boring. And you can go autopilot, just play your transformations like you guys have talked about. I do think it is very satisfying to play Bird Arthur when your opponent has many transformations in their hand. That is one thing I do like against playing against Madam Mim. But yeah, otherwise I agree with you guys. I actually have her at I think 15. Yeah, 15. So definitely a little bit more in the middle, but yep.
Yeah, I did forget to say her fate deck is definitely the weakest in the game. You have 4 copies of Knowledge and Wisdom, and
Which
the
is
best
half
you
the
can
fate
do.
deck.
Yeah, and the best you can do with that is move the transformations to the swamp because you don't want to put them where near the hut, where she can move a hero or a transformation.
Hero ally.
Yeah. So that's another
Because
grab I
both
have.
of them are bottom row, because she's got 3 bottom row actions everywhere.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, next up.
Let's move on.
We'll now move up to number 15. He wants your money. He wants all the money, all the power, but not unlimited power. We got Prince John.
Oh
boy.
I can start out if we want to start out on a positive one. I ranked Prince John at number 4. I have always really liked him. I think he's the best designed out of the first box, the worst takes at all. If we haven't gotten to many of them yet, but the other 2 are in, or not the other 2, the other 4. No, we talked about Queen of Hearts. Sorry, the other 3 are right down below Queen of Hearts, somewhere in there. Let's see, but I find the goal to be really simple and easy to understand. And I think it's a fun, like a sort of push and pull between do I want to save up and try and get closer to my win con, or do I want to play some cards and kind of build up a defense so that fate cards that come out aren't going to be as detrimental against me, kind of a spend some in order to gain some later sort of thing, which I find to be interesting. So
okay.
greed shouldn't exist, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, with PJ, I like to perceive PJ as an investment banker. Is this card that I'm about to play worth the investment that it could return on me? I remember in season 4 of Wicked League, there was a niche group of PJ players that would not play cards, and they would try to get as much money as possible, and they would just keep going. Jail, on Sherwood they'd have Hiss at Sherwood Forest, and they just keep going back and forth, and just keep going back and forth. I was like, what are they doing? And I was like, that's their strategy. I was like, it's the simplest strategy of just discarding all their cards until they found taxes, since that was free.
Sounds like Chocolate Rain.
I'm not putting anyone words, but the person that it was not Chocolate playing that game. I will say that. But I won't say who it was. But yeah, I was like, this is so weird. But I like PJ. He can be fun, but unfortunately, because he's so easy, he is at number 17. It's sad that because I like the things you can do with him. I feel there are still too many. There are a couple. I hope that the new PJ has fewer niche cards. Because I feel like there's some cards like, yeah, that to me is not worth the investment. I don't need to throw anyone in jail. If I don't have the ability to trigger, not greed, the other one, cowardice, I'm not playing those Rhino guards. Why am I spending 3 power when I can spend fewer power somewhere else? So that would be my take on Prince John number 17.
It's kind of funny because I put him in 21.
Oh wow.
Here's the reason. He's way too easy to play as, but he's also too meta to basically try and win with.
Like, what do you mean?
I think honestly, like, you're trying to, you have what was it? Like, I know your objective is to like collect as much gold there as you can, but then it's like there would be like an easy way for somebody to kind of, find a cheat in that system or to find a loophole of sorts, and it just kind of takes away the lackluster of, playing that character. That's just my opinion.
That's understandable.
I have Prince John also at 21. I've voiced this
Oh, wow.
before. I also am frustrated by his playstyle. Not that he's too easy, but I just don't like playing as him. The whole concept of having to save money just makes me feel like frugal, and I can't really invest it. But then if I invest it, I feel like it's not worth the output that I get. Another thing that I don't like about him is that there's no deception when it comes to your win goal. Every opponent knows how well you're doing. There's no way to like disguise if you're close to winning or not, and it's just kind of frustrating to me. Like having some kind of level of sneakiness. Yeah, that's about it. I tried playing him a few times, just didn't really have fun. I can never really put a reason why he's my least favorite, but maybe it's just his style or just, how I like to play. Just not my favorite, but I appreciate people who do like I understand and respect like if you do like playing as him. It's just not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think it's a funny villain. I think he's a little bit entertaining, but don't like the play style.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I have Prince John at number. I have him at number 18. I'm kind of on the same page as Wahnderful.
I'm a minority here.
I'm on the same boat as Wahnderful. I think he has really good conditions. Depending on who you're playing against, they're very
Wahnderful.
easy. They're very easy to pull off. Greed, 6 power is easy, and then cowardice. You just need an ally with 4 strength. That's a free Rhino Guard or a Sheriff Nottingham. But it's just collect power, and the best way to collect power is to have heroes. So it's just he's not a bad villain by any means, but I don't know. Like he said, it's just not that really fun to me, I guess.
Yeah. Also, another main reason too is like if you get an early King Richard or Robin Hood, it's really crippling to Prince John just having that out early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I think my biggest gripe with him is just not being able to hide if you're close to winning or not, and then you become a target of her fates, especially in a group setting.
And another thing is with Sir Hiss, he can't be fate locked, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing if you're Prince John, but if you're playing against Prince John, a lot of people will play Sir Hiss at Nottingham, so they can get that other fate, so that they're not fate locked, which it can be frustrating, but I can understand why they do that. So that's my.
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
No, that's my 2 cents on Prince John.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot to say about him.
I was just gonna say I won't get into it too much because I feel like we could make it its own podcast. But we've seen some interesting changes for Prince John and Introduction to Evil. I wonder what more there's gonna be because there's a lot of different things on both directions that people have said about Prince John. So
yeah. All right, next up.
All right, before we move to number 14, I will say this. Prince John was the most picked villain for number 21 out of all villains.
Wow. Wow. That's surprising to me.
That's a unique stat. Thank you for sharing. I feel better.
Yeah, so all right. So Bone above him, number 14. Representing the yellow box, we have the other dude. Wait, what movie he's from? It's the Horn King.
Oh, the Black Cauldron. Why don't we start with Mim, because I think Mim loves to play as the Horn King.
As do I.
So all right, the Horn King is number 14.
So I'll go ahead and start. I have Horn King at number 9. He is my favorite from the Disregard Plus expansion. I think he is a lot of fun. There's not really a whole lot I can say much against him, except it could be hard for him to get the Black Cauldron, which is it's fine. He just needs. No, he just needs to play the Ancient Soldiers, but not really a whole lot I can say against him. The heroes in his fate deck are really weak, which is funny because the Cauldron Born are so strong. They're 6 strength. I think the strongest one is which is a Morpha, which is 3 strength.
The highest base. I think you could make Turan higher than 1 Cauldron Born if you stack all of the abilities possible on him. But usually just 1 Cauldron Born's enough. Well, the sword requires 2 allies, but
yeah. I enjoy Horn King a lot. I don't really care for the movie that much, to be honest with you, but I think he's really cool. Dark. I think he's really cool. I think that's it. It's just I definitely like him more than Gaston and Lady Tremaine in that set. So that's it for me.
I put him at number 10. He's been growing on me a lot lately. I'm not really sure why. He still is ranked lowest out of DP, but that just goes to show how much I like DP as a box. I might be the only one that says that, but I really like all DP. 3 of them. And I don't know why. I feel like I guess we're going to get to it later, but I feel like Horn King is almost like in my opinion, if Maleficent was enjoyable to play at. It's the same sort of concept of put one thing at each location. I just think that because there's more steps involved, and also they're a bit more secure once they get down, it makes it a bit more fun to play with. Now, I will say real quick, we know that there's a little bit of change in that from Maleficent, but we're talking about Horn King. Or for I2, I mean. Maleficent hasn't changed, but I think I don't know. The Cauldron can take a while to get but you can prepare yourself pretty well while you're waiting for it. Like if that happens, which I think is fine. Like you can get out your ancient soldiers on the board, or you can save up power to play the Cauldronborn once you get
Spanish,
them.
they are literally
sort
called
of thing,
dragons.
so. Yeah. The Fate deck doesn't. The heroes don't do a lot, but the effects do. So, like, oh yeah. Also, my little fun thing about Horned King is I know how to pronounce Gwichains.
Oh,
the dragons, the Gwichains. So.
Oh, that's what they're called. Yeah.
What? That's it? I thought it was Gwythanes.
I think it's what it's called. Yeah.
I would say Gwythanes.
I always say Gwythanes.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
it's okay.
Most people I play with don't even try and pronounce it. They just say they're playing dragons.
One thing I like about him is that there's a point in his gameplay where heroes do nothing.
I don't have a whole lot to say. He's been growing
Flutterflam.
on me lately, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah.
I wish he had a second condition because it's one that he has already.
Yeah,
it's good, but it's niche
because
to
he
be
has
able to pull
awesome
off. So.
board control
in
the late game.
Extremely niche because you need to have
Ancient are not discarded when vanquishing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
kind of like Ruthless for Hades, where you have to. It's a hard trigger, and you also have to have the right stuff in your hand to be able to play it.
We got big keeper.
Yeah, I think.
And that defeats one strength hero, which for most villains that would be pretty much useless, but for Horn King is very good because most of his heroes only have one strength.
I mean, they might block a location for one turn, but that's as long as they're going to stay there.
That's all there's going to be.
Oh.
Keeper.
Yeah, I also have him at ninth place. Oh.
Yeah, there's 4 heroes with 1 strength: Dolly, Fairfolk, Flutterflam, and Gurgi.
Yeah, although Princess Eilonwy being on the board does make we got Pig Keeper useless, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Where do you have him ranked, ma'am?
Yeah.
Are you done with
Didn't MetaCross share the ranking? Like the
art?
Okay.
I have Horn King at number 2. I really enjoy Horn King.
Oh wow.
He's kind of grown on me a lot. Not really the biggest fan of the movie. I watched it recently with my fiance, but I think it's very satisfying to have Cauldronborn who are not eliminated during a vanquish. I think it's very satisfying to just have indestructible allies. His board control, his hero control is fantastic. I like a little bit of luck based game in my play, so like trying to really like bank on getting a Cauldronborn. I think every spot on his board has a purpose, and I think it's really nice. I feel like you're never making a bad move. And what else can I mention? I think his mover is one of the best of all the villains. I
think it's the best.
It is.
It's my favorite mover of the whole game for sure.
Yes. Out of all 3 versions, even I think it's the best one.
Yeah. I think his art on his cards are really great. I really enjoy Horn King. It's really satisfying to reach that point, like Min was saying, where heroes don't do too much except for Flutterflam, whatever, however you pronounce it. But once he comes on the board, I always keep him on the board just because he's too threatening to get back on the board. Yeah. I like how also I Believe in You can be positive for the Horn King, because if you discard your hand that's really crappy, you only get 3 cards that are really helpful. So yeah, I think he's a good mid-range villain. He can be quick but can be slow. He needs a certain amount of turns for sure to win, but I find him very satisfying to play as. Yeah.
I think I'll just end off this little discussion. I think everyone's gone and shared their thoughts. Sorry, that's not
Yeah.
true, but I think it's cool
That's
that they
not true.
featured Horned King in the game at all because I don't think any of us were expecting
Yeah.
to ever see the Horned King come into the game, considering the movie he's from. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and the popularity. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, Horned King, I think mainly just because he's a really well thought out character. He's very, like, his gameplay is very meticulous, I have to say. But, like, there's like points where it's like, oh, okay, you're gonna have to, like, bank your chances or, like, really gamble at, like, getting the Gurgi's sacrifice and all that effects. And, just kind of, like, immediately, like, resetting your whole progress with the Cauldron Born and all that, or with the ancient soldiers. Like, you're really risking a chance if you mess it up, because then it's like, oh, I got to wait until it's available again. But if you're playing as Horn King, he's still a lot of fun to play as.
Yeah,
He's
it's pretty much just
really,
so
really
fun.
fun, and I realized this from watching other people play him, that he's very meticulous at you know his effects, his allies, his conditions, and then his fate deck is pretty easy, straightforward, in my opinion.
Yeah. I like how he also has a start. Not that he doesn't have a start of turn objective. I know we talked about that a little bit in the Discord, but I like villains who don't have like a start of turn one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes
it
depends.
effectively is a start of turn win condition for Horned King. It's
I guess.
possible you'll win not on the start of your turn, but 9 times out of 10, if not more, you're going to win
Yeah.
at the start of your turn.
Yeah. I think it's like interesting where you always have to keep 2 power at the end of your turn in case you do get that Cauldron Born. That's kind of interesting. And he's not really starved for power too. But yeah. I think that was a really good discussion.
Yeah,
Hopefully
I would
we don't have
say
any
I'm gonna bring the
wrench
house
viewers
down,
watching.
because I'm on the opposite side of the strain. I'll tell you the things I like about Horn King. I like his mover, and I wish that he would win in his movie. I despise all the heroes in his movie.
Yeah, you're not
the
wrong.
the Horn King is number 16 for me. I think out of all villains, I think he cycles through his deck the most when I play him. Because there's just so much clutter. Yeah. And if I get Cauldron Born at the beginning and my soldiers are at the bottom, it's just ugh.
That's how you make it work.
It's a slaughter of coning through the deck to get the other one. If you have the deck that way. I think the bitches are more of a. Oh, I'm sorry for saying that. The witches are awful when you're playing, because the amount of times that they would steal the 2 power I needed to play a Cauldron Born, and they could be brought out with almost a lot, because with the, and then so I think he has his heroes can't hurt you. Some of them are dumb. I don't think I've ever seen anyone play Dolly. There's just a lot of cards that I feel like, does he really need all these allies if he has immortal zombies? Why did we throw in a card that spells Cauldron wrong when we have Cauldron all over this guy's board and all over these cards? I know they fixed it. I asked for the card.
Which card?
Our has arrived in the
arrived.
original print.
In the original
on
print,
like the ability
text
said flip the black Cauldron tile.
Yeah, it was
cool.
Without the L in it.
It was like, really. I mean, and he comes from one of my least favorite Disney movies. It's like, I wish the Horn King won, and that's the only two things I like about the Horn King. He is the best mover, and I wish he would kill all his heroes in the movie.
One last thing I want to mention too was I do like the option if you are getting a lot of Cauldron Borns at the start, you can play. We have made a bargain to shuffle your whole villain deck pretty much to get better chances to find the Asian soldiers. Like, so there is that like hope.
Yeah.
But then
You get
again,
all
like I
that
said, it's a
card,
gamble.
all that clutter goes back in as well.
I want to add one little note. I made this joke a little earlier. I don't know how much it was heard, but we don't acknowledge the French version of Horned King.
No.
Let's move on to the next character.
All right, number 13 from the original box. He's not being remade. I know he's Baby Daisy Lover's favorite. We have Jafar.
Ooh,
That's number 21.
yeah.
Baby Daisy, why don't you start off?
We're starting off with a negative one this time. Okay.
Yeah.
I really hate Jafar in this game. He's my 21, and it's not even close. I don't know. Like, there's just so much about it. I'll start off the deception discussion because we're going to get to it eventually. Deception was a mistake and should not have ever happened. If you're not aware, for listeners, deception is during their turn, if another player has 2 or more items in their realm, you may play deception, reveal, and play the top card of that player's fate deck. It's a passive card, like a passive trigger that just lets you play a fate card on somebody else. You can play it at any time on their turn, and when the condition is true, so you can have them move to a new location and play a fate card on them that wasn't there before. Now they can't do 2 of the actions at the location they just moved to. It's also really hard for most villains to get around triggering it. So there's deception. Hypnotize is also a mess, because I describe it as just like deleting heroes from the fate deck because it almost does. You have to do it on Genie, and I don't like that it's such a permanent progress because like once you've defeated Genie, it's a matter of time until Jafar wins. It's like he's got like 3 or so turns at most for him to get the lamp over. And then and you're really scrambling against the clock to do it because there's nothing that you can do to get the genie out. There's also nothing that you can do to get Aladdin out of Hypnotize for some reason, which means that he's one of the worst heroes in the Fate deck, despite being the protagonist of the movie, because once you hypnotize him, you can never get him back as being a hero again. I think Raja can't be broken out of Hypnotize either, but the other ones can. But you have to first play Crushing Blow on them, and then get a Narrow Escape, or reshuffle the Fate deck to get them back as heroes. Then there's Necessary Sacrifice, or just gain free power, because it's not a sacrifice at all. None of Jafar's cards have any worth to them. You've got multiple different allies that have no ability at all. Razul exists, and he costs 3 power, but he has a super useless ability. There's also Scimitars, which cost no power to play, which means that you're just getting the free 3 power for playing Necessary Sacrifice on a Scimitar. And like just in general, Necessary Sacrifice, I feel like makes a lot of Jafar's deck not very useful. Like because they had to make it so where you could use Necessary Sacrifice to actually have like a reliable way to gain power. But like to make it not where that's like a huge detriment to you, they just made all of the cards in his deck worthless so that when you use Necessary Sacrifice on them, you're not losing anything. Also, I generally find like the dig through the deck to find your cards sort of thing to be kind of boring. And I guess I do like Lady Tremaine and Ursula a decent amount, but there's just something about the way Jafar does it. I don't know why. Scrying is there to, dig through your thing faster because none of your cards are worth getting anyway, so might as well discard them all faster.
Number 4.
Oh yeah, there's manipulation too, which is the real problem with that is just because you can use it to get back deception to play again on someone like multiple times. I could probably go on a little bit more, but I'm sure there's Jafar fans out there that are upset that I have gone on so much about how much I hate this guy. I hate him in this game so much that it's made it harder for me to like him in the movie.
Nice.
All right. My original favorite from Worst Takes It All was actually Captain Hook. It actually took me a while to get accustomed to Jafar. I have him ranked at number 4. Part of that is because I really love Aladdin. Another biased thing, but
yeah, exactly.
I think Scrying is a good enough card to get the items that you're looking for. I do think the reason I think they should have included Jafar in an Introduction to Evil is to fix the deception in the hypnotizing mechanic. Because I know a lot of people don't like
That's
that.
been one they could have fit.
Yeah, because it comes to a point where Jafar can't be stopped. If he has Abu and Aladdin both hypnotized, and it's just like okay,
Yeah,
it's just like okay, here you go. But
I also didn't even mention that if you steal the lamp from Jafar too early, it actually helps him. Because you can use it to, you can use sorcerer's power to move the hero all the way over to the what's it called, the palace, and then just defeat them there, or whichever one of the two it is, Aladdin or Abu, and then defeat them while they're there, and
or
then
hypnotize, yeah,
or hypnotize, yeah. So you can just move like if you steal the lamp too early, you just lose even faster.
Yeah, but I think he's a lot of fun. I actually did not get the best luck with him. It was 2 nights ago. I was playing with 3 other players. The scare pendant was near the bottom, and I ended up losing. But I think he's fun. There are some things that I think should be fixed. Again, with that Introduction to Evil, but again, I love Aladdin. I love that movie. I don't really care. I don't really care for him as a villain. I just like him because I love Aladdin. That's kind of why, not to get too off topic here, but that's kind of why I would want Ernesto in the game because I love Coco. I love the movie.
Fun.
I love the movie more than the villain, and I love Aladdin. Aladdin, I grew up with it. My favorite classic Disney film. So those are my 2 cents on Jafar. But again, I actually like Captain Hook before Jafar.
Interesting how you call Aladdin a classic Disney film. Stop
Yeah,
making me
it's
feel
such a-
old. It's not classic.
Depends
Yeah.
I have Jafar at number 13, mostly because I have him in a trio of what I call the time bombs, who I don't really enjoy playing that much, but I enjoy them kind of around the same group. The other 2 are Hook and Evil Queen.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I like him more on the other 2, mostly since I like Aladdin more. I actually love Jafar in Aladdin. He's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Unfortunately, the live action, they did the complete opposite. But that's a whole different story. So I like Jafar as a character. I do agree with Baby Daisy Lover on the stupid facts of Jafar and how he should have been in the box. But I have my suspicions on why he wasn't. It is totally probably a big fat lie, but I just keep that to myself. The amount of times that I saw Jafar played against me in the Wicked League when it last happened, season 4, I think it was almost every game, every match, someone played Jafar. And I was like, I hate playing against this character.
Go to season 4 without playing a single match against Jafar.
Yeah,
and I don't know how, because that was his most popular season.
Yeah, so the amount of
season 3 and 2,
I
it
played
was
against him so many
incessantly.
times. I was like, ugh, why can't I figure out how to beat this effer? Except when I play Gaston. That was my one time where like, oh, I'm gonna do Gaston.
Yeah.
No deception for you. Oh no, I can control no manipulation with the right way I play a Gaston. So I don't have to worry about that. But then I was like, oh, I don't want to overfate Jafar when I play Gaston because then I want Bam. So it was like, so I have Jafar 13 mostly because, like, when I play him, it's fun because there's all the cool mechanics that he has that are very unique to him. But I hate playing against.
Is a cool
If this was
idea.
If there was a ranking of who I hate to play against the most, he's 21. But like I said, he's
That's a separate podcast.
That's a whole horse of a different color. So
Yeah.
13 for Jafar. Final answer.
Yeah, for me, Jafar is
Yeah.
15.
I actually have him at like.
I don't
have him at
hate
number.
him, but I find
8.
the beginning of his game
Villains
when you
and
have
Aladdin's
the
such a good
for action lock,
movie
for
from
location
like
lock,
the Renaissance
is
era,
very fun
the
to me.
Disney Renaissance era.
So
I
I find it
think him
strange that
gameplay wise, like
he has access to both
you have
base
to be like
locations
very
before
smart and
unlocking
strategic to
the
you know
last location.
try and
But
play his
also
effects
just
and
one
stuff.
discard action.
But like once you get
Especially
past
because
all
he needs
that,
to get at least
he's still a lot of fun to play.
2 items.
It's just like a matter of like
I will make a
okay,
snarky
what's
comment.
that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, same as Lady Tremaine.
Yeah, it makes scrying so much more valuable.
Well, that's another thing to me is, sorry, I keep going back, I know, but it's just because I keep remembering even more things that I should.
No, it's no problem. I'm doing the same thing.
If you get the lamp early, you literally can't play it. And it's like, oh, you have
That's
Scare
true.
Pendant to like get the extra card, except for you don't at that point in the game. Like, you get the Scare Pendant ability at the time where you don't need it, because if you drop the lamp early, then you either have to rely on manipulation or hope that you can get off Gazim, or deal with having an extra card that you're holding on to and cycling less, which just means you're going to get the Scarab Pendant less. If it's lower down.
Yeah. I'm in the pool where I have grown to love Jafar. He's so steadily been growing on my list, but he's number 4 for me as well. Really enjoy Jafar. I think he oozes style and thematic design, I guess, but I think the concept of his hypnotizing is fantastic. I think it's very fun as a player. I think every card has kind of a use, whether it's sacrifice fodder or if it's defeating a hero, moving a hero. I think his conditions are absolutely brutal. I feel like such a villain when I'm playing against certain matchups. Like if you're playing against Pete or if you're playing against Radigan, just the fact a deception is guaranteed pretty much, and then using manipulation to play it again. It's so evil. I faded a Pete, I think, recently like 3 times on their turn, because with the Scarab Pendant, you have 5 cards in your hand, so it's likely to have those conditions. It's insane. I think the art of his cards are beautiful. I think his mover is also really great.
Got good art.
What's up?
He's got good art.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Deception has really good art. Also, a Snake Ami is really nice. I'm finding little and less use for Iago as I play with him more, because you can move a hero who has the lamp with Sorcerer's Power. You can have the move ally space, but Iago is not as useful for me anymore, I see. But I have a lot of fun with Jafar.
Okay. Is that it for Jafar?
All right. We gotta keep moving. Number 12, staying in the green box, we have our Captain Hook.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Captain Hook. My number 17. Right? Yeah, 17. If someone has him higher and wants to start off on a positive note, we can.
Yeah,
you go first.
I have him at a 5. I think mainly just because he is a lot of fun to play. He's one of my favorite characters in Peter Pan. But it's just a whole. He's literally like a ton of fun to kind of collect allies, collect items, and he's a lot of fun to kind of like, guess where the map is and unlocking Heyman's tree, and then it's then a matter of figuring out okay, where can we find Peter Pan, and then it's like stacking up so many allies in order to defeat him at the Jolly Roger.
Mm-hmm. Is that all you had to say?
Yeah.
Okay, I can go on my little bit. I don't have a lot to say about Captain Hook. To me, I just find him to be kind of boring. There's not a lot going on, which is a common theme, I feel like, for a lot of my lower characters. But it's like, there's not a whole lot you do outside of defeat Pan, which is fine. If he didn't have that stupid clause on him that makes you have to play him when you reveal him in a fade action. I don't know why they gave him that. Probably because they didn't think to have Hook have a way to pull a hero from the fate discard pile or something. But I feel like he would go up 3 or 4 spots if that one sentence was just not on the Peter Pan card. But yeah, there's the real only counterplay to Captain Hook is getting the taunts on the board, I feel like, which isn't very fun to play against, and I don't know, you don't do a whole lot but dig through for cards or dig through for the map and then dig through the fate deck and then drag him over. So I don't know, he's just not very interesting to me. He's also really strong, and I'm more of like an underdog type of one where I like to play the ones that aren't as easy to win with. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I really enjoy Hook as well, probably equal levels as Jafar, but I had him at number 3. A little bit of bias just because I loved growing up with a Peter Pan movie as a kid, and Hook is such an S-tier villain. He's so fun to watch. Just like Gaston, there's like really a personable, like iconic villain. I like the little bit of the depth that you have with playing him, with manipulating your fate deck. I like how your opponent can potentially help you if they fate you early. A smart opponent won't fate you until you get Peter Pan out, and then just bombard the fates. I feel like every card has some kind of purpose. There's not really too much discard fodder unless you're looking for the map, of course. But if the map's at the bottom, it's kind of frustrating. Or if Peter Pan's at the bottom, it's definitely
sir.
Sir. Yeah, that is. It can be. I actually did use it in a game recently.
I've used it a time or two, but not much.
Yeah, but he has plentiful. Like, he has enough power to defeat Peter Pan. I think Peter Pan could afford to go to 10th strength if they had to give him a nerf. But no, I think he's just very fun to play. I'm trying to think what else.
We know the least about his I2E changes so far.
We do.
I'm really interested to see what they do with him. Because
Mm-hmm.
the only thing we know is that he doesn't have a lock token anymore.
Yeah, but he still
That's
has
true.
the
The
man,
only
which is
thing
strange.
we know so far.
Yeah, there's no evidence of any nerfs. There's no evidence of any nerfs yet, which kind of terrified me as much as I
We
love
haven't
him.
seen like any of his cards. That was the reason. There's no evidence.
Yeah, I wonder how
He's the only one we haven't seen any cards for.
I wonder how the map would be
Except
repurposed.
Taunt being the same.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Another candidate for one of the best movers in the game, and also amazing art, especially with his conditions. Anytime Captain Hook's on a card, he looks really great. I'm trying to think here. I think it's helpful for the opponent early game because he can only fate once per turn. He doesn't have access to that fate location. But yeah, some of the conditions are really hard to pop off. But otherwise, I'm a big fan of him, and I think he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so like I said, I have him in the Time Bomb group. He's number 14 because I don't like Peter Pan as much as Aladdin. Hook is fun because I like to use Hook as a teacher. I'm
Yep.
weird
He's a good
how
beginner one.
strange how they're putting him in like the beginner when I thought he was the beginner, because like, hey, you can play all these allies. Hey, you can play these items. This is the one you really want because it unlocks this card. And then Peter Pan comes out. You just need to move him to the Jolly Roger and use your pirate buddies to kill him.
I think the
I was like,
combination.
this
Yeah.
was pretty simple. And
Mhm.
everyone I taught, I always had them play Hook. I played Prince John so they could see how close to winning I was. And that was always my teaching a villainous match.
That's a good idea.
And allowed them to use almost all the icons besides activate. But Captain Hook, Peter Pan was never a big movie of mine, so that's why I have him at 14. He wins easily at certain points, but getting TikTok, First Fate, putting him on Lagoon sucks.
Yeah.
Because you are power starved.
Yeah. Unless you play what's it called? Like the one that gives you two a
Worthy
worthy opponent.
opponent.
But it's nice to be able to discard at both those locations, at the other locations. I think the depth of combinations that you can use is pretty awesome. Like putting the ingenious device at Hook Hangman's Tree. If you could do that, move him over twice, and then also playing Mr. Starkey to potentially move him to the Jolly Roger in one move is pretty incredible. Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. Just the combinations that you could do, but yeah, if Peter Pan's at the bottom of your deck, I don't like how well he can be, or like it's depending on how Peter Pan is in the Fate deck and how the map is in your deck. Like if they're both at the bottom, it's gonna be a pretty rough game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so it's a little bit luck based in that aspect.
Yeah, for me.
All right, so
for me, Hook is at 7th place. I like him quite a bit. After I got all the expansions for the game, there was a time where I stopped playing with the base characters because it was much more exciting playing the new ones. Until I believe 3 months ago, I decided, okay, let's try them again to see if I still like them. And Captain Hook was the first one I played again, and I really enjoyed how you play with him. It was pretty interesting. His condition, there was, how do you say it? I kind of miss those conditions that can be played at any time during another player's turn, because I find them pretty interesting because you pretty much are just how do you say it? Yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter if you have the condition in hand. If you don't have the condition, you can just discard cards and hope you get it in the next turn. Because those kind of triggers are pretty easy to get. Because most of the time, the ally in the other person's realm is gonna stay there for a few turns at least. So with Captain Hook, I had quite a bit of fun. I also find fun to play against him because it's kind of this. How do I put it? Yeah, when you're playing against Hook, you have to think about whether to fade him or not, because if you fade him a lot, you're gonna just help him get Peter Pan out quickly. And if you get Peter Pan in the fade action, then you gotta play it immediately. So you really help Captain Hook a lot. But still, you also have to fade him at the beginning, because you don't want him to be able to have so many actions at in his locations, and also play so many allies that when you finally start playing heroes to stop him from the Film Pan, then he's just gonna be able to vanquish them very easily. So yeah, I kind of like playing with him and playing against him. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah. And I think it's also kind of nice where Hook is incentivized to actually defeat heroes at times, so then there's no targets for taunt. So I like how with some heroes, with some villains, I mean, you might want to keep them on your board, heroes on your board, or stacking whatever. But Hook has a fair reason to vanquish heroes. And it's a little bit of a gamble because you might get Peter Pan out, or you might put a crippling hero on the board. Who knows? Like the crocodile.
All right, so I'll start. I have Captain Hook at number 10. He's a lot of fun to play. Not really a whole lot I can say about him. Yeah, he has really good conditions. Yeah, he's very strong, and we'll see what Introduction to Evil does with him. Because as far as we know, they didn't really change anything about his objective. So we'll see how, because he doesn't have a lock token. So I'm interested to see what the map does.
Yeah.
It used to unlock the what's it called?
Hangman's Tree.
Hangman's Tree.
Hangman's Tree, Lost Boys Hideout.
It used to unlock the Hangman's Tree. So we'll see what that does. But he was a lot of fun. Again, he was my favorite before Jafar and Worst Takes It All for a while. But I forgot who said it, but I'm not really a big fan of the Peter Pan movie. What I am a big fan of is Hook, the sequel with Robin Williams, the live action sequel with Robin Williams.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And nice. So I'm not really a big fan of the original Peter Pan movie, but I also read the Disney Villainous books by Serena Valentino, and the Captain Hook movie. The Captain Hook book was really good.
Oh,
so
those ones, yeah.
So yeah, he's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun for me. He's my second favorite from Worst Takes It All. So that's it for me.
Oh, I want to add one more thing. I really enjoy how he can add so many actions to his locations, like with the Hook's Case, Ingenious Device. You can really transform your board and kind of personalize it, and that's one thing I really enjoy about him.
Real quick before we move on to the next character, Loki Gal had to head out. We're recording this at night. We've been going for a long time, so sorry about that. But hopefully we can keep going.
Yeah,
I'm okay. I was trying to keep these at 1 to 2 minutes. I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, I don't have any
talking about these.
I'm having a blast talking about these villains, but I don't want to keep it too long. So
yeah, maybe we can try to reduce the time a little bit, but I'm definitely enjoying the conversation.
Let's move on to the next character.
All right, number 11. This is gonna be where I will control the conversation because we're gonna talk about my favorite villain. Number 11 is Scar.
Scar
Scar is my favorite because A, comes from my favorite Disney movie, The Lion King. B, I just love the aspect of what Scar does. Let me kill everybody. Just let me kill everyone. You know, I'm gonna kill you. You know, I really wish that they had the Titania mechanic for Scar because I think that would be cool. Even though technically, so I think that would have been a cool idea instead if you would have made Scar like her, so that you would be forced to kill every hero, instead of killing Mufasa then killing everyone else. So I really enjoy Scar a lot. I feel like all his cards are wonderful. There are ones that are more niche than others, but I feel like I'm almost playing every card every time I play Scar. I love my trio of Shenzi, Ed, and Banzai. I find I'm always playing them. There's just so much fun things you can do with Scar. The double stampede play, using Stick With Me to do a double vanquish and killing Mufasa and Simba in the same turn. Yeah, I love Scar.
I put Scar at number 14. I don't have a whole lot to say. He feels fine. And like RJ said, he's got a lot of good cards. Like none of them feel all that bad. Really the main thing for me is that his fate deck's a little too harsh. You know, Hakuna Matata, Prophecy, the Stick, Simba, Rafiki, all those things. It's just a little too much for me, but I mean, like I said, Jafar's the only one I dislike, and he's also 14. He's higher than a decent number of people, so that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, he's 15 for me. Just like RJ, I really like the mechanic of killing every hero you can, and I really like stacking all the hyenas and seeing how strong they get with the hungry hyenas. And also the special hyenas, even though they don't get extra strength from other hyenas, they still have pretty good abilities, I think. And it's super satisfying when you play Stampede, for example, and defeat a hero with it. And even more satisfying is when you get to defeat 2 heroes in one single turn, be it by playing a Stampede and then using Vanquish action, or maybe playing Stampede and playing
Stick With Me.
Stick With Me. I find that super satisfying, and also I really like how he can play cards from the Fate discard pile, because I like playing Hakuna Matata to move heroes around, like using a card that's supposed to stop me,
hurt you,
to help me win.
Yeah.
Apart from that, is also playing Sazu and moving him around so that heroes are at only 1 strength, for example, or maybe 0 strength in the case of Timon. But still, he's only at 15 mostly because of the end game. When you get in the Hakuna Matata Rafiki cycle, that's so painful.
Yeah.
Especially because you're just wasting your hyenas, and sometimes if you have, for example, let's say you have pretty much every hero out already in the round, then that means that the only cards in the Fate deck are either the items, which are the prophecies, or the stick. And the stick is most probably gonna go to Rafiki, and the prophecies maybe also. And apart from that, there are only the Hakuna Matatas. And when
have you guys ever tried the strategy of putting the stick on Zazu?
Yeah, I have tried to do that, but most of the time it's not possible.
I've done that before, yeah.
He's kind of annoying sometimes, and he's a low strength, so I like to get him in the pile when I play him.
I mean,
bring down 1 or 2 heroes and then bring him into the pile too. That's what I like to do.
Yes.
Should I go ahead with my thoughts on Scar?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So I have Scar at number 13. The Lion King is a good movie. My main dislike for Scar is probably for a lot of other people. He has 3 Hakuna Matatas, which can be very annoying.
And they're the only effect, so it's possible they can get to be the only cards in the Fate deck.
Right.
Unlikely, but possible.
Yeah. He's a lot of fun. He's actually grown on me a lot. But and I've had a couple of ones with him. Really not a whole lot to say about Scar. He's fun. I'll pick him, every now and then. Not really my first pick, but he's definitely grown up, as I've said, from what he was before. He has a lot of good cards. I really like Be Prepared. You discard 3 cards, and then you can gain 2 allies or an effect from anyone or anything in your discard pile.
Yeah.
which can be really good if you need like Shenzi or Ed, another hyena, or a what's it called, Stampede. Stampede, yeah. He has a lot of really good cards, and I also really like that he has 2 locations with 2 play card actions.
Yeah. He has the same action combinations in his realm as Mother Gothel does. They're just rearranged. Fun fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
But that's really all. That's really all I can say about Scar. So it's talking nice.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about Scar either. Yeah, I have him pretty low at I think 17. No, 18. I appreciate there's a lot of passionate Scar players in our Discord. I think he's kind of frustrating to play as. I think it's quite scary playing against Scar at times, just because if he gets rid of Mufasa and Simba, that's a guaranteed 11 that cannot be pulled out of his succession pile. So that's pretty scary to face, especially when he gets both of them out. I don't like seeing Scar players rage when I get to Hakuna Matata cycle them. It's not fun seeing all that effort wasted. I like Injustice though. I think Injustice is pretty cool to really manipulate your fate deck if someone's gonna fate you.
Probably one of the coolest conditions.
What's up?
I think it's one of the coolest conditions.
Yeah, one of the coolest conditions. Yeah. Just like Devious and Radigan's set. But yeah, nothing else too much to add. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't mean to interrupt, but for me, it's between Vicious Practical Jokes and Injustice as the best condition.
Fate manipulation ones.
Okay, everyone, that's gonna be a wrap for today. We've been talking about the character for over 2 hours, and we've just managed to talk about the bottom 11. So I think this is gonna be a good time to cut this podcast. And next time, join us to hear us talk about the top 10 most fun characters in Disney Villainous. So, curiously, if you keep track of the ones that we've talked about already, you definitely know which ones are next. However, you don't know in which order. So, look forward to that. It should be out pretty soon. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!